Hi, this is Governor Asa Hutchinson. The 8 recipients of the 2021 Governor's Arts Awards have shown exceptional talent, decades of dedication, and impressive generosity and patronage in the Arkansas arts community. These awards honor Arkansas's artists, businesses, and organizations for their significant contributions to the arts. The videos you're about to see will introduce you to educators who share their gifts of woodworking, poetry, storytelling, and music. You'll meet the patrons who share their time, skills, and money to help our arts organizations succeed. During the pandemic, the arts have played an important role in our communities, our economy, and in the education of Arkansas students. The combined achievements and contributions of this year's esteemed group of recipients demonstrate that a rich cultural legacy is alive and well in Arkansas. On behalf of the Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism and the Arkansas Arts Council, congratulations to the 8 recipients of the 2021 Governor's Arts Awards.
Thank you, Governor Hutchinson. I'm Stacy Hurst, Secretary of the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. Tonight, we honor artists and their supporters who have made the arts community and creative economy in Arkansas thrive. The Governor's Arts Awards is meant to recognize and elevate our artists, arts supporters, organizations, arts educators, and really the arts in general. We do this because the arts are an essential part of Arkansas's heritage and contribute to preserving identity, place, history, and quality of life. The arts are a vital component of our state's overall economy, attracting tourists, students, explorers, and businesses. Our artists are reviving downtowns, beautifying areas that once lacked pride, and uniting people during difficult times. From painters and sculptors to writers and filmmakers, artists help us discover and understand ourselves and the world around us. The Governor's Arts Awards recognize Arkansans who have made significant contributions to maintaining, growing, and enhancing the arts in our state. Congratulations to each of the 2021 Governor's Arts Awards recipients, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Patrick Ralston. I'm the Director of the Arkansas Arts Council. This year, we're thrilled to be able to honor once again the recipients of the 2021 Governor's Arts Awards. We want to thank all of our amazing artists and art supporters who continue to make Arkansas's creative economy strong. The Governor's Arts Awards recognizes the talent and dedication within our arts communities. Each year, the recipients receive an original work of art created by an Arkansas artist. This year, our award was created by wood sculptor Gene Sparling of Hot Springs. The videos you're about to see were created by the talented filmmaker Nathan Willis. Enjoy our virtual event, be inspired by our fellow artists and supporters, and keep creating.
Over 60 years at least that she's been dedicated to improving the arts world. It's been consistent. When you think that she has been a public school teacher, a private music teacher, a patron of the arts, a performer, an organizer of events to support the arts, a church musician, and getting to play in the White House, to developing this totally groundbreaking, innovative program for special needs.
I loved music. I played the piano well, and I thought, well, I think I'll major in music. And at that time, music programs were being introduced into the local high schools, and there was a demand for teachers. And so I applied to my hometown and got the job. We had a music club called Treble Clef Music Club that's about 116 years old. When it was organized over 100 years ago, the women did not work like they do outside the home now. And music club was the big outlet for them. Well, I realized that that was pretty outdated and that we had to find our niche and do things differently.
They really started maybe planning programs that drew a larger crowd, so you would have more people attending meetings. They developed new fundraisers, and the one, I think it's Nuts for Music is what it's called, but they sell pecans, and that's been the major fundraising event for the Treble Clef Club. So they provide scholarships to ASU music students. They provide money for the Delta Symphonies. And she also is a very avid, strong, vital member of the Delta Symphony Orchestra Guild. My husband is the conductor of the orchestra, and so we greatly appreciate Pat, as he is always saying, we are both members of the Pat Qualls fan club.
And I think it's important that in a small town, we're not really that small, but we are small compared to Little Rock, that we have the opportunity to hear a first-class orchestra right in our hometown in a beautiful performing arts hall.
In the last few years, she started organizing, with the help of other members of the Guild, a series of in-home concerts where people came back to Jonesboro to sing, and most of whom donated their services for that. And these were tremendously successful fundraisers. Pat is just, it really has to do with her ability to galvanize people to help. She's able to just find the right people and put them in the place that can make a difference. And I think that that's just an amazing quality. People are so ready to join in with her on a project.
Then, about 12 years ago, I was teaching an autistic girl who was 16 at the time to play the harp. She was very low functioning, and after a year, I had the idea, because I knew of other special needs talented musicians, that one of our programs should be by special needs. And so some of the club members thought I had lost my mind. Well, what do you mean parading those kids on stage? But they went along with me, and the first program was held in 2010. We had 5 performers, about 100 people in the audience. We continued, and we discovered more and more gifted musicians. It kept getting larger and larger until the last program we had about 65 or 70 participants, and almost filled Riceland Hall, which is a performing arts center on the campus of Arkansas State University. We call it the Special Olympics for the Arts. They look forward to it. These kids have no stage fright. They walk on stage, they own the stage, they take over, and they are very professional.
But she prepared them in such a way that they were prepared for about anything that could happen. And so they weren't ever left feeling awkward or like, what do I do next? Because she'd already anticipated things that might arise. It was really just a celebration of the triumph of the human spirit. I mean, it's just an unbelievable event.
I feel like I have been called. And that calling, it just happened. Why did I want to play the harp? And then why did I move back to Jonesboro? Why did I decide to give that 16-year-old harp lessons? It was all in a plan that I didn't know a thing about, but looking in the rearview mirror, I can see it clearly now. I just feel very humbled that I was called to do this.
I work with the Arkansas Arts Council. I work with Arkansas Learning Through the Arts, which is based here in Hot Springs, and they have gotten me into many, many schools here across the state. I'm the host of Wednesday Night Poetry, which is the longest running consecutive weekly open mic series in the entire country. We've never missed a single week of poetry in 1,668 weeks in a row. And by the time you air this, it'll be more. And I also am a board member of Hot Springs Area Cultural Alliance, which amplifies and celebrates arts in and around Hot Springs. I didn't have an easy childhood, and so I just started scribbling. I found an empty notebook and I just started scribbling, writing my thoughts down. And that's how it started. I had a friend all of a sudden. I wasn't alone all of a sudden. When I got out of college, I was like, well, how do I become a poet? What do I do now? And so I got my emergency teacher certification, and I went right into teaching high school. I taught 9th and 10th grade English back in the same school district that I grew up in. And I won Teacher of the Year. And then I won Teacher of the Year out of the whole school district. And then I kind of got to the top of that mountain and I put my flag up there, and then I quit because there was still this burning inside me that I wanted to be a poet. I didn't know how, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that poetry was still the major thing in my life. So if I had to do the math, thinking about the kids that I taught in Houston as a high school English teacher, and then coming here to Arkansas and working with the Arkansas Arts Council and Arkansas Learning Through the Arts, I would probably say I've brought poetry to maybe 15,000 to 20,000 kids over the last 20 years. Wow, I've never had to do that math before. I'm really lucky.
How do you teach poetry? You read it out loud to a room filled with children, as though a fire lives in your gut, as though magic lives in your heart and you only want to put it in their cupped together hands. You hold a magnifying glass up to meaning, dig around and show them all that lies beneath until they want to find it themselves, until they are the instigators of discovery.
And so what I tell students all around Arkansas is that poetry is a safe place for your feelings. That's my mantra. Poetry is a safe place for your feelings. And I've had some really heartbreakingly beautiful poetry written by 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 13-year-olds about things that you would wish would never happen to kids that age. So I offer a lot of my poems to marginalized voices because I too am a marginalized voice. I am a brown queer woman living in Arkansas. I am a queer woman of color living in America. And so I know from personal experience what it's like to be on the outside. I've been on the outside my whole life. And so now I write for other outsiders, for people that don't really have a voice. And here in Hot Springs, it's actually the home of Wednesday night poetry. When I started writing again, I went to my first open mic here and I was just hooked. So I've been going ever since. I'm now the host of it. It was started by Bud Kenny, February 1st, 1989.
Her name into a poem and thank her always for being real.
So when the pandemic hit in March of 2020, I didn't want to break our streak. You know, we're the longest running streak in America. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I asked our poets, our local poets, to just send me a little video clip of them reading a poem. And so I made a Facebook post at the same time that we were supposed to have Wednesday night poetry at 6:30 on that first Wednesday. And I uploaded all the videos into one post and I said, welcome to Wednesday night poetry. We're having it here online now until we can be safe again. Every week, we consistently met on Wednesday, and it was open to anybody, poets all over the country, and we would meet, and we would kind of process what was going on. So it's kind of like I moved my classroom to the adults. You know, I couldn't be in the classroom with the kids anymore, so I became the teacher, the leader of the poetry community for the poets.
Poetry is yours forever. Children are much deeper than we give them credit for. Their eyes still open to the higher worlds, their spirits still in tune with intuition and grace. And in this room of poetry, in this safe carved out space, lay a welcome mat that starts with a smile and open a door to everything all at once.
Company motto is whatever it takes. Everybody that works here knows that's the way we operate. Whatever it takes to make the curtain go up and come back down, that's what we do.
Bylites is a live event production company. We've been in business for 49 years. We work with a lot of organizations in Central Arkansas and beyond, but the majority of our business is here in Little Rock and North Little Rock. You know, putting together large events, we provide lots of different services. We provide audio support, obviously, video packages, scenic design, scenic construction. So really, everything that you imagine is involved in producing a large event.
We have sound engineers, video engineers, lighting engineers, scenic engineers, people that specialize in those groups. And it's part of what makes this business fun. We're working with all this diverse group of people that always wear black and stay behind the curtain.
We're proud to say that we've worked with the Art Center over the years and the Arkansas Repertory Theater, Ballet Arkansas, of course the Akansa Festival we've been proud to work on for many years. So we've established a lot of relationships with a lot of very reputable and worthy causes. And traditionally we provide an in-kind donation that helps offset their costs. You know, that's one of the things we can help with. We own the equipment, we can assist with that cost, and it's the easiest thing we can do, and it's what we do well.
We were nominated by Akansa. It's a very large project for us. It lasts over a course of 2 to 3 weeks. They have multiple performance groups that come in, and we're trusted with those groups getting what are called their writers, their production writers, to find out what all they need, assembling that material, transporting it and setting it up at whatever venue that Akansa has chosen to show these people off, and then taking it all back down and being done with it. It's a large undertaking that exhausts all of us.
Of course, I have children, and I want my children to grow up in a community that's full of arts, and I just think that it's so important to everyone. So I'm proud to work for Bylites. I'm proud to support the arts. I'm proud to be a part of this community.
Again, we're the guys who wear black and are behind the curtains all the time. We're not supposed to be seen, but it's so much fun to peek out from the curtain and see people enjoying what you've worked so hard to make happen. I couldn't ask for a better job.
These are connected to, it's going to sound real corny, but these connected to our soul. And when we create with these, using our mind and our eyes and our heart, and we fabricate something that is inherently us and very personal, it's just wonderful. As I was growing up, all the boys took industrial arts. Man, I loved it. The better students were directed away from that and into the things that would lead them to college. And of course, fast forward a bunch of years, I went back to the industrial arts. I kind of refound it. Gradually then I gathered my own tools and set up my own shop and started making butcher blocks. So we traveled around the country with our butcher blocks and cutting boards. These are little cutting boards, the start of them, and essentially I have taken scraps for these, and I'm planing and jointing these, and they'll be turned into cutting boards. I'm going to turn some equipment on in here and show you how that works. We've got one Earth, and we've got to change our throwaway society. And so a lot of my lumber for myself and my son's work comes from trees that people have donated to us, or we find land on the side of the road. And of course, I can't hardly throw anything away, so this was just a cherry knot, and I'm working on the bowl. I think I'll make some little balls for 2 feet and call it bowling balls. With hand tools, the lumber, the grain of the wood will direct your tool and teach you things. Knowing where we come from and such is very important. For me, it's a tie to my past. My dad was a hand tool woodworker. He worked a lot with an axe and knives and just straight with the lumber, the wood. And I took a position with the National Park Service at Buffalo National River in the lower district. I could do pioneer woodworking programs, interpretive programs at Buffalo, and I really enjoyed it. And when the kids would come to the park and pile out and come see this ranger in a flat hat working on a draw knife or operating a spring pole lathe, and see a tree branch move up and down to provide the power for the lathe. And hand tool woodworking and the blacksmithing and learning how to forge tools and utilize them in the wood shop or just woodworking, oh man, that really added to my depth and breadth of knowledge as a creative craftsperson. And I continue to do blacksmithing too. I don't buy any of my raw materials. I don't think I've bought any metal. I've always used salvaged material. So the idea that I could take spring steel, junk, and with some imagination and some work, make them into a good tool is pretty important to me. It's something I was fixing to throw in the wood stove the other day, and I said, I wonder if that's pretty underneath. And it'll be pretty when I get it finished up, but oh my gosh, it's hard to turn. I'm especially fond of making something that goes into a family member's home that'll be passed down, hopefully, for generations. You live on. It's kind of, you read an author that's gone, they're still alive in their work. Same with craftsperson or artist, you live on. I think that's neat.
Let's see how to begin. I think, Okay, ask me, well, let me see those questions.
He's a master storyteller, although while he's painting the painting, sometimes he doesn't know what the story is fully. It's more like he and the painting are working together towards this end, which hopefully will end in a finished painting and a story that he can figure out.
An image usually comes to me without its meaning attached to it. And it may come from a written mythology, or it may come from listening to a piece of music. Dark roads I'll be driving down the road and suddenly see something that I've seen hundreds of times before. Suddenly see it as a painting. Same thing with still life. I can see something, I'm ambushed is the word I use for it, ambushed by something that I see, and it becomes a painting.
He could be walking down a lonely road and see a crow fly by and in the twilight and just drop to one knee and start sketching what he sees. He also enjoyed drawing in dark places. For a while he was going to the different strip clubs that we had around here and would go in and draw. It was a good place for him to see the female figure, and so he would go there and draw in the darkened bars.
Here's the thing. I think my images have to be personal. They're my own sort of romantic or existential angst going on. But if they don't also have a universality to them, then I don't think I'm I don't think I'm entitled to do them. I mean, I think that the great art has to be both things. It has to be internal, totally personal, and yet have a universal appeal, or else it's worthless to anybody but me. That's why I don't like to explain my paintings, because I'm afraid that my telling my little bit about it I don't really know what it's about.
I would describe his painting as figurative for sure. I would think that you could think of them as edgy, and they also have a kind of a darkness, but it doesn't lack in some sort of joy. In the paintings themselves, I can see that when he hits a right note, when he notices he's doing something, it's like the painting tells me that he was pleased and that there was happiness, or momentarily happiness, because Warren doesn't think of himself as ever happy. He also does sculpture, he does some filmmaking, animations, and he does printmaking. He ended up doing some prints that I've never seen another printmaker do, because he's totally open to surprises within the medium. It's amazing what he can do.
One of my abiding images that I've painted, the guy under the bridge. Yeah, well, I figured how I would end up. Under a bridge, wrapped in newspapers. And it could happen. It's still.
The Bogle family personifies the spirit of Arkansas philanthropy. First and foremost, they're advocates, they're ambassadors. They care deeply about the organizations they serve. They are very caring about the people that will benefit from their support. They are thoughtful in their approach, and every conversation begins with how can they be useful. Every contribution is made with their trademark humility.
Well, you'd probably be hard-pressed to find a worthy cause that they haven't supported, and luckily we're grateful that SONA is one of them. They have been a huge supporter of us and really crucial to our success. As with many arts organizations, ticket sales don't cover all of our cost, and so it takes generous individuals and corporations and foundations to help us achieve our mission. Giving is a family value, so it wasn't just Bob and Marilyn Bogle that donated to SONA, it's really their whole family that is involved in philanthropy in the region.
And their gifts tend to be ones of permanence. For example, at Crystal Bridges, they were very interested in creating a welcome center or a pavilion where guests could come and learn about architecture, and specifically the architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright and our Bachman Wilson house, and then create this beautiful entry, if you will, to a grand lawn leading up to the house. So that idea of permanence, how can we improve the quality of the experience, not just briefly, but for a long time?
Yeah, so the Bogles gave a transformational gift to SONA a few years back, and what that did, it sponsored our music director, and it was the largest gift ever by an individual to SONA. But even beyond supporting our music director, what that gift did was help us grow, obviously, and our existing fundraising efforts could go towards capacity building and building our endowment and really thinking about the long-term health of the organization.
The Bogles' philanthropy has always been regarded as leadership. Through their example, they let others know that the arts require the support from the communities that they serve. And so the Bogle and their name affiliated with the project attracts others' interest. There is this feeling that Northwest Arkansas, especially in the past decade, has been a place that has just been one of thriving and with a bright future. And I would say that much of that has been possible by the dedicated efforts of philanthropists like the Bogles, who settled in, created deep roots, and were concerned about community and about the health of the community, and took on a brave responsibility to make sure it was a community where they not only wanted to live and raise their families, but they wanted others to feel that same level of investment.
Teaching and education during the time that I came up, having been born in 1937, was a way out of the sticks, a way out of the woods, way out of the field, way out of the South. It was a way to have some class. I loved English and I loved writing, and that was a guarantee that I could be successful in that field because I loved speaking, I loved writing, I loved teaching. I was a fifth grade teacher there. I was the alderman in the ward where we are now for 15 years, 5 months, 20 days, and 30 minutes. I was able, with the cooperation and support of people in the community, to get street light on streets that had never had them before, get curb and gutter on streets in neighborhoods that never had them before, and to get parks and improvement in the fabric of the city, public works that always had been forgotten. So holding my family together and retiring from in public life is a rarity. I was able to do that. I suppose it's more successful to me than the public works that I really got done, because I'm proud of my family. I thought about my own writing more as I neared retirement, because I always said that I wanted to be a writer and a publisher. So I started writing poetry, like sometimes 2 and 3 poems a day. I've heard these stories, I didn't believe them, about writing them in the bathroom, writing them in the tub, writing them in the bed. I write a poem during the time the news is on. I correct it and improve it later, but I had more time. I had time that I would call free time. Freedom is not free. It never was. It never will be. It's expensive. It can't be purchased at a discount. No coupons exist for freedom. There is no general set price. It simply costs. There is an unknown price. However, there is definitely a price. My book before this one was The Challenges, and in it I talk about African Americans who filed for public office in Hot Springs from 1954 to 2010. That was 63 of them. Those who didn't win and ran, I talk about them, and those appointed by the governor or anyone else. I write about all of them. When I think of the history in the African American community, writing was a threat to the system at one time. And this is my statement about the Confederate flag, or the Confederate triangle in the city of Hot Springs. I call it Old Confederate. As long as she has stood in public, Old Confederate waved in all her glory. Steadfast the masters preserved her, bleaching clean her grim backstory. The South pledged allegiance to evil, waging battles they couldn't win, to continue exploiting and enslaving, committing America's original sin. Rebels fought for their human property, warring with brothers they bled and died, embracing a symbol of terror and torture, emblems of treason, now a sense of pride. They claimed this was the land of the free and the so-called home of the brave. How can this ever be our land and home while the old Confederate yet waves? Quite often when I'm questioning about where these poems come from, then I think of a song that we used to sing, Something Within. that's holding the ring, something within me that I can't explain. So we have to write. It's something in that you don't share. It's like rhythm, can't be taught. This one reflects life after death and when we get to wherever we are going. It's called When We Get Over There. A perfect day that will ever last. Our birth, life, and death will all be in the dark past when we get over there. In heavenly mansions above, every day will be Sunday. We will love and be loved when we get over there. The time of thoughtless sins, none of this will be anymore. Every soul will be like kin when we get over there. The Good Shepherd knows our name. We'll be called a child of the King, and everyone will be the same when we get over there. In that morning, bright and fair, where dying will be no more, there will be an abundance of joy to share when we get over there.
Okay, both of you are sideways to me, and I am this way.
You might ask Susan if your screen is locked.
Do you want me to, is that better?
No, it's vertical now. You might ask Susan if your screen is locked.
Susan, I need help.
I'm Ezra Idlet. I live in West Fork, Arkansas. Play guitar, banjo, and bouzouki with Trout Fishing in America. Also produce the music here in the studio.
I'm Keith Grimwood. I play the bass. I also live in West Fork. And have lived in West Fork since 1992 when we moved to Arkansas. Ezra and I have been playing together for a really long time now. I believe it's been 40-something years, and it's just a long, long time.
In the course of our travels, we get to do songwriting workshops where we work with kids in schools and talk about the process of writing a song, try to demystify the creative process. I ask the kids what would be a good idea to write a song about, and they come up with ideas, they come up with a song, and we write it right there in the classes. This is one we started in Van Buren, Arkansas. It's about a child in the library at school and some troubles he's having.
There was an alien in my nose, an alien in my nose. It was gross, 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 gross.
We took off as just the two of us, and we were playing mostly for our peers. Our peers started having children, so they wanted a place. And when you have a kid, you want to share what you enjoy with your kid. So you enjoy music, you want to share music. And they would hear us and they would bring their kids. And we started playing music more for families, more and more. And I don't know, just it has evolved. Like I say, over the years, we have played in bars, we have played the White House, we've played other countries, we've played for all kind of ages. That's what I love about our career, right there.
We may be the only band that ever opened for Bob Dylan and Barney.
We've had 5 generations of the same family at the concert, and that's who I really like to play for. And we don't just play kids' music for those guys. We play music for them. And it's really cool because little kids will buy one of our adult albums. And when you put out albums, you have to, is it a kid's album or is it an adult album? And it's hard to define what we do. So being independent's worked. Where we've been to all 50 states, and it changes you. Traveling changes you, and even when you start to get awards or get recognized, like at the Grammys, we've had 4 Grammy nominations. So I'm at the Grammys, and what do I take back from that when I come out of there? I study that whole thing and I come back and I just want to be better.
But maintaining that friendship through the stresses of making a living and the road, that's a big deal. We still are interested in writing and still excited about playing music together. I mean, we're like a couple kids still working, playing music.
I'm playing for people. Even when I'm in the studio, I don't play for the wall. I play for people. And the people I see are all ages. They come from all walks of life. They're all colors. It's beautiful.
Since I was little, and I think both of us, since we were little, music just spoke to us. And in traveling the world like we have and playing music for people, you see the effect it has on people that speak your language or don't speak your language. You see how it just goes right to a heart. One of the things I really love about music is, especially in these times, when I play music, I don't play for Democrats or Republicans or whatever. I play for people. And those people that have disparate backgrounds and feelings are sitting, and we are unified in something that is happening live in front of you right now. It's people. You know, we don't play for just children or just adults. We play for people.
I'm Gene Sparling. I work with wood. I'm primarily a wood turner. I also do some sculpture and other things, but it mostly revolves around wood. When I first decided to begin making art, it was the one media I had expertise in. I've spent much of my life in the forest and in woods and working with wood. It was primarily a practical interest. Previously, when I needed a house, I built a house out of wood. When I needed a table, I built a table out of wood. And so it was a natural media for me to delve into. Again, I hope my art speaks to this without me having to enunciate it, but nature. It's all about nature. And well, I tell people regularly, as long as I start with a beautiful piece of wood, all I have to do is not mess it up. Primarily, I can look back on the previous makers of these awards, and it's a quite august body that I'm honored to now be a part of. It's actually a piece of a big cherry tree that blew down in a series of storms on Easter Sunday of 2020. Grew next to my father's barn. It's one of my very favorite woods to work with. It's beautiful. It has a nice fine texture. It polishes to a wonderful sheen. And it tends to darken over time. It will start out a light pinkish red, and over time and its exposure to UV light, it will end up turning into a deep, dark, rich red. And it's a wonderful feeling to make something that people just love. And when I make a piece and people come in and just, oh, I love that, or oh, that's so beautiful, it just feels good. I like it. And it's fulfilling.
Thank you for watching this year's Governor's Arts Awards virtual event. We hope to see you in person safely next year. Until then, stay safe.